Superman versus Meshi is
We're back.
Yeah, it's our favorite. Every time I read it, I'm like, yeah, I like the Bat Baby, but I think the Superman versus Meshi.
Bat Baby got nothing on this.
Yeah, oh my God. And it's a new volume. So we end up having a new cover.
New volume, same munchies.
Batman is like straddling Superman and feeding him like little dumpling things. I don't know what's going on there, but he doesn't seem very happy about it either.
Superman's having a grand old time.
Superman's loving it, but it looks like that thing is about to fall out of his mouth. It's not really in there. It's very odd. Plus, his hands are forward. That stick's going to have a problem. I mean, holy moly. But
goodness.
We will get into this. What are we talking about, Luke?
Fly and drive, but
exactly.
at the same time.
What are we doing?
We got the Supermans. You think I know the title?
I know you don't, so I have it ready.
It's Superman versus the Meshis. I don't have the title, Jim.
This is Super Chapter 8, Superman versus Gosburger, Japan's homegrown hamburger. I beg to differ. I don't think there's actually a hamburger in the lot. Got a lot of crazy stuff going
burgers.
On, right? These things are sandwiches.
Super sauce
I don't know
burgers.
I don't know if I'd call them hamburgers, but we're going to continue the deal of, what is between the lines here, because you end up starting out where Clark goes back to Smallville to go to his father's gravesite. Now, this seems to be in the movie continuity, because we even had the chapter where he's, flying around backwards so that he can kind of turn back time, things like that, like Cher. But in that, I think that you're playing with Jonathan Kent being dead. So he comes back to Smallville for like 3 seconds. He comes back, he's there, he's like, okay, R.I.P. Dad. And Martha's there with him. His mom's there with him.
It's lunchtime.
And she's like, oh, hey. He's like, yep, gotta go. Now, in that point, though, it'd be one thing if we thought, he's got Justice League things to do. My goodness, you know what? There's some deadlines at the Daily Planet. No, he just wants to eat Japanese food. He ditches his mom completely, and she's upset.
On the anniversary of his dad's
death. He ditches her. She says, can you stay a little? Because she says, you're already leaving? You just got there.
The burger's going to get cold.
Again, she says, are you that busy at work? She is almost in tears. And he lies. He says, yeah, it's kind of that. But also, there's a place I want to stop by. He is ditching his mom on the anniversary of his father's death.
Japanese food is just that good.
And the other play here seems to be, he's already bought it. It's starting to get cold, so he doesn't want to. He's ditching her. And she ends up so upset. Says, "I wish you could stay longer. I thought you were, rather than just get." He doesn't even go to the house. She says, "You just came to the graveside. Why don't you stay for lunch?" He's like, "Well, I already packed the lunch there, toots," and then ends up saying, "Don't look so sad. I can fly here anytime." Now, he does say, I can always
soon.
And that's the thing. He says, I can always fly over here. I think that's what he does. He never stops. He waits. No. Because she just said he hasn't been there since pretty much last year, it seems. Jeez. So he is a jerk. He is a straight up jerk. He's treating his mom like crap, but he'll get his. He's going to get his in a minute because he ends up leaving. And again, he says, besides, it's funny. Why don't you stay for lunch? No. I packed something. And by the way, your food's great.
You got the best cooking in the universe, but it's not Japanese.
I'm telling you right now, this isn't called Superman versus Mom's food. The best that we got was he actually ate Japanese food and said this reminds him of it made no sense. So he goes off and you end up where Martha, pretty much you should change the word balloon to be, oh, that boy of mine. What an asshole. Because he then goes off.
I do like she says he's as bad as flattery as ever. Clearly, she hasn't been reading because he's praising them dishes every chapter.
What happened if you had, I was going to say, what happened if you ended up having Martha somehow get to the Fortress of Solitude and get jealous of the food, but the whole play is here. Somebody else is already there to get jealous. Superman shows in this chapter that there is nothing more important to him than eating Japanese food for lunch. It seems to be always for lunch, right? It's the whole place. So he ends up He goes to the Fortress of Solitude, says, okay, there's, I feel okay. I feel like I'm at home in Kansas. I also feel at home here in the Fortress of Solitude. I love that he doesn't mention Metropolis because, he hates that city. But he goes in and says, all right, here's my secret base. I call it my Fortress of Solitude. So he goes in and he talks about the idea that, hey, and it goes with the crystals. I learned about the Kryptonian stuff. I learned about my home world, but really, who cares? I am hungry and I want to eat my lunch. I want to get this. And he's got Gosberger, I would call it. We find out what the initials mean, and I'm not so keen with that. Anytime you say that you're eating food and one of the things of the initials is ground, I'm like, I don't know that I need that. But he says, he says, all right, I felt like having lunch in the Fortress of Solitude, saying that he didn't want to be around his mom again. That's all he was doing. He was there hanging out with his mom on the anniversary. So
later, Mom.
He's got that delivery pouch deal from the Gosberger and says, oh my God, I can't wait. I had my heart set on takeout today. Sorry, Mom. Now, here again, this is where I want everybody to just sit back and enjoy the classics of Superman, who ends up at points being the stupidest person who ever lived. He also ends up being a jerk. All this stuff, because this Japanese food's affected him so much. He ordered, am I wrong? He ordered this food, right? He ordered these stuff. And so why does he have to look with this X-ray vision?
He gets an X-ray for a sneak peek. Like, ooh, everything's there. Good to go.
It's like, all right. And still, all he's looking, he's not even going far enough to go through it's just wrapped up burgers. And then he says, it feels like what he's doing is what you do at the drive-thru, where you check your order before you leave. Well, pal, you're already in the Fortress of Solitude. Whatever you got in there, you got in there.
Oh, jeez.
So he says that he might have ordered too much. So aside a minute.
Classic Superman.
Why couldn't he have stayed in Kansas, eaten this food, and actually gave his mom one of the burgers? He has so much in here.
Because he's a greedy son of a gun.
He has 7 burgers. He has fries. He has onion rings. All this stuff. And he just had to run off.
He has so much food. And this is the first time we've seen it. He's still eating while he's flying back. He ordered too much.
He did. And he says that. He says, I think I ordered way too much. I think my eyes were bigger than my stomach. And then he says, I don't know what to start with. So now he's going to play Guess the Burger.
Lucky dip.
Yeah. And he says, I'm going to do the Goose Gosberger drawing, covers his eyes up and reaches in, even though it's a bag, so you don't have to cover your eyes. He reaches in. Be funny, grabs like a crystal, starts eating that. He gets this, and this is where I'm saying, like, they say hamburger in this, but the first one is the seafood tempura rice burger.
Rice burger?
And a burger there. That's seafood tempura on a rice roll. It's nonsense, right? But it kind of sounds good. You ever have like a lot of tempuras? That's something you like, Luke.
Yummy, yummy. I'll drink anything.
It is pretty good.
That.
It's funny. The other day I actually saw a little video about when they first introduced tempura to Japan, because it's not actually like founded in Japan. I think it might have been like Spanish. I forget where exactly. But when it was introduced, this big to-do shogun guy, he ate too much and died. He ate too much tempura. Like, he wanted everything tempura.
That's Superman's dream. Never mind going down with Doomsday. He's going to eat one too many tempuras.
Tell me in this, first off, he ordered all this food. So, number one, why would he be surprised at what he gets? Because he seems surprised. Now, he's picking out of the deal, but everything he picks, am I wrong? Everything he picks, he goes, yes, this is the best thing. Like, each one. Like, he doesn't say at one point, like, oh, man, this was the dud. Everything is like,
this is what I've been waiting for. No, this is what I've been waiting for.
So you end up little food wars. You get to see what that was. Again, doesn't really look like a burger, but it looks good. He's like, this is it. This is what I've had a taste for. Down the hatch. Says, oh, my God. And then says, it's still warm. Remember, this is the North Pole. A lot of things going through Superman's mind at this point. And then you end up out of nowhere. What is this, son? And Superman's like, oh, my God, well, what's going on? And then they even have an editor's note. Superman is a dummy. He knows what this is. Why is he asking? You have an editor's note.
Crazy.
And it's Jor-El. It's Jor-El of the Crystals.
Ooh.
This is now going to be pissed off, jealous Jor-El, who is really getting upset.
He's a hologram and he's hungry.
Yeah, and he's a hologram who's hungry and wants to grab the food, but he can't, which he knows that. So again, like father, like son, they're both morons, because then you end up where Jor-El says, oh, let's go. Also, does Jor-El play it off here like it's his house? Because at one point he actually says to Superman, yeah, he says, hey, come by anytime. I'm like, what are you talking about, hologram, daddy?
You're paying rent?
Like, seriously, yeah, really, in his head. But you end up where he's like, oh, what is that? What are you doing? How did you get here? And you do end up where he apologizes. I'm sorry I startled you, son, for some reason. You're a little, off. And then Superman says, oh, don't worry. I was in Kansas. It was the 7th anniversary of my adopted father's passing here on Earth, Jonathan.
Whoa.
Jor-El just starts laughing. 7 years? I've been dead 1,000. He's one-upping Jonathan Kent, who's dead. He's like, oh, at least the Earth is still around. Krypton got destroyed. 7 years is nothing. He gets jealous. And then he says, taking into that account, I've had a lot of anniversaries, so screw you. And then goes, oh, what's that? That food. So then Superman goes, this is a gourmet burger. It's from Japan. It's a rice bun with this nonsense stuff on it. Looks pretty good. Jor-El goes, what? Earth burgers? Those are bullshit. What I think is great are these Kryptonian burgers that I used to eat. Oh, my goodness. I think that Earth stole the recipe.
Oh, my goodness.
Superman says, what are you talking about? Stole the recipe?
I know the picture he shows of this Kryptonian burger, it looks nasty.
It looks like some sort of alien life form, right?
Oh,
it's got nonsense going on. And the Superman's sweating, and he's like, yeah, don't think that looks too good. And yeah, you just don't get it. The Japanese, it's an island here on Earth. It's great. He's like, don't tell me about bullshit Japan. Can you smell it? And he's like, no, I can't. It's a hologram. Like, it's a memory of a hologram guy. He's like, no, I've never smelled it. I only learned about stuff, but whatever. Like, maybe they're kind of the same. I think they stole the recipe. That's what Superman's like, no, I don't think that's possible. But get this, Dad. This thing has this sweet kind of combination. The shrimp are deep fried together and the onions, tempura. It's got a sweetness. It's got a smell to it. Yes, just like on Krypton. And he's like, no, not like on Krypton. What are you talking about? At one point you play off, and it's straight up manga, where Superman is waxing poetic about how great.
Amazing Japanese burger.
Jor-El's face has gotten dark. He is so angry at Superman.
Don't care about the Japanese food.
It's the craziest thing. I don't know that we really ever have in something like him being jealous of Superman liking something on Earth. Like, he's like, no, that's bull crap. And he starts.
Jor-El is always set up as the villain because he cannot understand the joys of Japanese food.
He can't even be happy that his son's like, okay, I think that looks great and whatever. But he just keeps, and he's talking. He's like, because the thing that Jor-El says is the Dongom Nen Pepe. It's because Superman says it's got a salty sauce that brings out the sweet. Well, the Dongom Nen Pepe has a salty sauce that brings out the sweetness.
Better.
At one point, I thought the only thing that would have made me laugh more about this is all of a sudden where Laura, his mom, pops up hologram and says, "Are you being an asshole again, Jor-El? Like, why are you doing this? Why are you, throwing shade at your son for liking a damn bread when it's not a burger?" I'd pop up in a hologram. It's not a burger, you assholes. Like, who is this guy? So you end up where, again, that's where actually full out Jor-El says, I think that they stole this. He's like, unless somebody broke into the fortress, I don't think that's the case.
Secret
and
recipe.
Then he says, and the best is he says, I'm sorry, Father. I don't think. And then in the mind says, there he goes again, asserting Kryptonian superiority.
He's always talking about them amazing Kryptonian lunches.
At a point, I thought to myself, maybe I'm looking into this like kind of funny. Maybe I'm like trying to have fun with it, and that's the deal. No. That line just proves it. Yep. Jor-El, like anytime Superman comes in, it's like, oh, I just watched this TV show, Seinfeld. Oh, my God, it's the funniest thing. We had a show on Krypton called Kreinfeld. It was better. They stole it. Like, he's such a jerk. But then in this, am I wrong? Superman legitimately turns his back to Jor-El.
Sorry, Dad.
Yeah, he's like, I don't need your nonsense. I'm going to turn. And Jor-El's pissed again. He is pissed.
If it's like that panel, when he turns around, you zoom in and you look at Jor-El's face, he is so pissed.
He is so mad. So at this point, you have this weird play because, again, Superman, he's got a lot of super senses, right? Mm-hmm. I think that me not having super senses can reach into a bag. And if I want to find the fries,
you can find the fries.
Onion rings,
you can feel the fries.
I'm not pulling out another wrap burger going, oh man, I thought those were the fries. What? He says, I'm going to cover my eyes and I hope I get onion rings and French fries, and then pulls out. And we've seen the onion rings and French fries. They are, standard McDonald's type deal,
French
open
fries
top.
And onion rings.
Yeah. So he is an idiot. He pulls out and says, all right, now he's got a teriyaki burger. Then he says, holy crap, it's a double. It has two oh, yeah, I ordered a double.
I'm that guy who ordered a double.
What is going on? Is this like the idea that at the end, could we possibly get at the end that there is something weird going on that, say, a Lex Luthor, he's poisoning the Japanese food to make Superman dumb?
Does he get a concussion after every order? Because he forgets exactly like 2 seconds after what he ordered.
Yeah, I'll tell you, he's very happy each time. So I'd like to be that. He reaches into a bag to get onion rings and fries, grabs a burger, opens it, is surprised it has 2 patties, and then says, oh, yeah, I ordered a double.
I'm the guy who ordered a double.
All right. But this is what makes this, right? This is the whole thing. So then, again, he still has his back to his father of the hologram deal and says, teriyaki sauce is one of Japan's greatest concoctions, right? And you end up, you're waiting. I'm waiting for Jor-El to say, well, get this. Like, he doesn't really yet, but he's...
sauce.
And he says it packs a punch. Goss Burger started with this burger. The first burger they had was this teriyaki, and then he goes into his narrator voice for no reason at all, and then says, like, ground, ocean, sun, Goss Burger. I'm like, that's the Goss, ground. I don't know that I need...
Let's get a different burger.
Yeah, it seems odd, but he says, oh my God, what can I say? It's super Terry terrific. He ends up eating it, and then starts to talk about the idea, and again, Superman's lost his mind completely when he says that the crunchy lettuce actually holds its own to the burger. He starts thinking that there's him and Jor-El are fighting, so why wouldn't the sandwich? He's like, the lettuce is stepping up and trying to get its thing going, and says,
can handle it.
It's stepped up and as if to say it won't play second fiddle to a couple of burger patties. I'm like, no, I've never heard anybody get a legit burger and say, well, was it good? Oh my God.
This lettuce. Amazing.
Oh my God, this lettuce was so good. And then what they say is, why is there bullshit lettuce on it? This isn't a salad. Let's get this shit off. Jeez. But you end up where he's crunching. He's loving it. This is where you end up where Jor-El might have learned a lesson. He kind of says, I see that my son is adapting to Earth. I like it. But in that he's he's smelling the teriyaki burger. Now, he wants to get some of this burger, but he's a hologram. But I have to give him credit. He knows, don't get your fingers too close. Superman's going to bite them off. I mean, this guy, and also, he knows damn well, don't ask Superman for any of the meat.
You didn't buy this lunch,
all he
Daddy.
wants. And again, just to show how sus Jor-El is, he's like, can you give me a piece of that lettuce with some mayonnaise and teriyaki on it? I'm like, really? That's what you want? And he goes to grab it in a weird way, and he phases through it because he forgot, again, like Father, he forgot he's a hologram. He says, oh, crap, I'm a hologram. The Japanese food
was so good, I forgot I can't touch it.
Yeah. And he said, what's going on in this book? It's so good. And then he says, all right, and then Superman gets done. Look like double takes at him, too. I do also want to mention that in what we saw and what we had going on, he still has a bunch of stuff.
He hasn't even touched the fries. He's got like 3 burgers left.
And he couldn't share with his mother. he couldn't share with
See
his
you
mother.
later, Mom.
I would have loved at one point is that you see all of a sudden that Jarrell's like trying to manufacture some, hologram burgers and stuff. But he ends up like, okay, I have to go. I got to get back to work. That's where Jarrell goes, oh, you're always welcome here. Oh, really? I want him to say,
the door is always open because you have the keys.
Yeah, you have the big giant key. I don't need your permission, Dad, but it's nice of you to think that maybe my dead hologram father needs to give me permission to come back to my fortress of solitude.
He just wants to see more of that lettuce.
Yeah,
goodness.
Really. He's like, bring some hologram food next. So he ends up going and says, I feel kind of guilty. Father probably wanted to have some too. He's a hologram, Superman. You know that he's a hologram. You saw him try to grab the burger. And that's nothing about Martha. At this point...
The one that can actually enjoy the food.
Yeah. And again, screw the food. Martha is there at the kitchen table on the farm in Smallville crying, looking at a picture of Jonathan. Like, why did you have to go? Why couldn't you have let that dog go, Jonathan? So you end up where he's like, oh, well, I was so caught up in eating it myself, as if he didn't have anything left to give to his father, though he couldn't anyway. And then it's like, oh, crap, I have another. He ordered this stuff. Why doesn't he realize? And this is the grilled meat rice burger, the headliner. Everything's a headliner to him. Not only that, then he has another thing. He has the burdock root burger. Then he says, oh, man, this makes me really think that things aren't around for too long. And meaning, in my mind, Jarrell's dead, never really met him. He knew him through did, but he doesn't remember. But also, he's so into this idea of this, burdock root burger. It's not going to be on the menu too long, is what he's saying. But yet he's not going back to Kansas to be with his mother, who is an old lady, and his dad already died. She's by himself. He's like, oh, that makes you think. So he says, Mom, Father, don't think they'll be around forever. I mean, what is the crystal? What is he going to hologram going to die?
Oh my!
And then he
goodness.
says, your parents or even burdock root rice burger. And then just says, I'll come again. I'm like, what the hell just happened? It's so good, though. This is like, there are things that we lose our mind in. This is supposed to be that, I think. I mean, some of the stuff is so wacky, but
there's
Superman,
no way, after this chapter, there's no way you can see Superman as a good guy. He's not been totally corrupted by Japanese
He's totally ruined by Japanese food. And I love the play. A lot of people do get upset, and some of the writers will play it off. Mark Waid did it recently, the idea where you get the world's finest. Okay, Batman's there because he's smart, Superman's strong, whatever, and then you'll have people like, well, Superman's actually smart as well. He's a reporter, things like that. And this, he needs Batman to get on the case again, and I can only hope because of the cover that he will. Also, I think that Bruce Wayne is upset because he was really counting on Clark to come to that restaurant that he bought in that chapter, and he never went back.
Business.
So, out of business. Out of business it is. So, yeah, you get chapter 8 ends. What would you give this?
Yeah, I thought this was another amazing Superman versus Meshi. This is the reason we like this book so much, is beyond goofy. Like, we say this is the stuff that could never happen, but like, if you had jealous hologram daddy who wants to eat the lettuce, but he can't because he's not. That's never going to happen in the comics. Like that's
never going to happen. I don't even think you're ever going to see where Martha's upset because Jonathan's anniversary of his death and Clark has to cut it short to go to the Fortress of Solitude to eat burgers. Like, that's crazy too, but you'll never get hologram Jarrell trying to snag, Bogart some of that lettuce. So it's not going to happen. Pretty good,
it still has the characters we love, but they're all just obsessed with this crazy Japanese food, which makes it so much funnier. But yeah, we love this book a lot. Like you say, we got Batman on the cover. I don't know who else in the Justice League we might meet. We already seen Aquaman. We never know who's going to show up next, but that's the good thing about this book. We know every week, every chapter is going to be goofy. There's going to be tasty food, and we're going to laugh at the end of it. And I love it so much. I want to give it a 9 out of 10.
I'm going 9.5. I laughed so much at it. And again, maybe I should go 9 because I still think the Aquaman chapter was the best. This might be my second favorite of just how ridiculous Superman is and doesn't even realize it. I mean, he never knows what he ordered. He ends up being surprised each time. This, he's then worried about his hologram father might have wanted to eat, but knows he couldn't. ends up where Jarrell's upset. He leaves. Oh, my God. It has everything it does, except colors. That's the only thing that it's missing, which I don't mind. And again, the art, it's not the greatest art, right? But it fits the story. And like the expressions that Superman has at points when at the one point, he pulls out this last grilled meat rice burger and is shocked there was still a burger in a bag that he's carrying because there's still a burger in the bag. Like, it's not like he went to he's taking that back. He's shocked that there's a burger in there and then says, oh, my God, as he would. The headliner appears. I love his dialogue. Good. And he's just talking to himself, too, which even is better. So we'll have to see. I think eventually or soon we need to get Jimmy or at least Lois. I'd love it if Lois goes. Lois doesn't like it, and he ends up throwing her into the sun. Whoa. Lois is done, but I really do like it. So I hope everybody enjoys, at least if you're not reading it and you think it's goofy, whatever, you can still maybe laugh at me and Luke losing our minds because we think it's the greatest thing ever. But yeah, you should be. And again, if you have the app, you end up having the DC Infinite app. It's there on the app. So why not give it a shot? And I think that, and also if you haven't read manga before, you have to give it a couple chapters to really settle in, to really get the idea. And then I think you'll have a lot of fun with it. We have a lot of people tell me that it's their favorite book right now, which is so funny, but we do like it.
Book on the staff.
It is. It's so good. But thanks for joining me once again, Luke. And if you want to listen to me and Luke talk about a bunch of manga, and as well as me and Stuart, me and Jason, the Get Fresh crew, we talk a bunch, and Double A Run on the whole Dragon Ball we do. Check out the show notes of the show where you'll be able to see a bunch of links to our manga stuff. So check that out. Thanks, everybody.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.